everybody, welcome back to The Hobby Musician. You're joining us today for the second installment of our current building project. Now, if you're new to the channel, this is your first time joining us, don't worry. You can click the link at the top, which will open up a playlist of every episode in this little build series, so you can get caught up, you can jump ahead, go back. But today is kind of our first real working day. Last episode, we got to meet the client that we're building this guitar for. We talked to Rob Tahan, who is the lead guitarist of the band Ashes Remain, and we went over all of his hopes, his desires, his creative goals with an instrument, and we discovered he's really interested in kind of exploring new, kind of out there ideas that start with the instrument itself. So we ended up realizing this build is going to constitute kind of a hybrid, a partially fretted, partially fretless guitar. So how do we get started with something like this? Well, we said in that episode, Rob primarily plays Ibanez style guitars. He utilizes some RG series, he utilizes some JEM kind of series, Steve Vai's signature. And so at the end of it, regardless of what we do with the neck, one of his goals, one of his desires is that this guitar should fall kind of in that body style, scale length of iconic Ibanez guitars. So the first thing that I did was I started doing some research. In previous builds on the channel, we've learned a very important lesson. The better you start a project, the better the project will finish. And what I mean by that is if you use really high quality templates to help you get the neck shapes, the body shapes, the neck pockets, all of that kind of stuff, you're going to be saving yourself a whole lot of headaches down the road. So that's the first thing I did. You can see laid out here, I went online and started doing my homework to find a template kit that I could use as a basis. Now I ended up going to and finding this one on Crimson Guitars based in Great Britain. Now they're not a sponsor, but they have some really good offerings, and it turns out they have a JEM style kit. And this was a full body kit, so it had all the body shapes. You can see here it's got the back so you can do the routes for the trem cavity, the neck pocket, the monkey grip handle, all of the electronics jacks, everything. Even if you could make your own custom pick guard. So here's a pick guard template with all the holes. So if you want to do some crazy kind of materials for that, not to mention all of the neck routes, also a scale length with all of the fret markers cut onto it, everything that you would need to essentially build an Ibanez JEM would come here. But as we said before, we're going to do some interesting things. So the second part of this video today, I want to take you through how I prepped the body. One of the other things that Rob knows about us, and that you, if you're a regular viewer, know, we really like doing things in a DIY fashion. We like using reclaimed or salvage materials, and also with just normal tools. So going into it, I knew that I wanted to keep true to that mission for this build as well. So you can see here, I actually went and asked around at work, and it turns out several years ago, the facility that I'm at put in a bulk order for a lot of office furniture, a lot of desks in all the rooms. And when they came in and were installed, it turned out that there were just extra shelf pieces and side pieces that never got used, and they were all loaded up and stored in a closet for years. So just sitting there collecting dust. So I asked around, I said, are we ever going to use these? They said, no, this is junk wood. Take whatever you want. So I brought some of that back home, and as you see, I then went outside and started cutting down the plywood into strips. I made sure that the strips were exactly the thickness of the body that I ultimately wanted to make. And after I had the strips, you can see in this time lapse, I then pulled out my planer and I just barely skinned off on both sides the plastic veneer that kind of finishes off these plywood pieces. Now, after everything was said and done, I cut them down into strips, and lo and behold, these are the kinds of strips I ended with. So you see here, when you look at them profile, you can see they certainly are just plywood, but when you turn them up on their side and you start stacking one next to the other, next to the other, if you keep stacking them like this, and as you see in this picture, a little bit of glue between each set and some real tight clamping, you start to build up a block. Now that block is what we can ultimately cut our body out of. Okay, well, what do we do from that point? Now, I mentioned a bit ago that sure, this template kit is an exact, or as exact as it can be, matched to an Ibanez JEM. However, there are other things that we're going to customize about this build. So I did want the overall body shape. I want the handle grip. I want the scale length. I want the neck pocket, like we talked about. But one of the things we're also doing for Rob is we're going to customize and actually build and wind custom humbucker pickups. They're not going to be, this isn't going to have the traditional set of a humbucker, a single, and another humbucker. So there were things that I needed to do differently. So I used the overall body size and shape. I'm going to use the trim cavity, everything like that. But I'm not going to be using the pickup selections in here. I'm going to be making my own pickup designation. It's going to be a two humbuckers, and I'm going to change the control cavity. So what does all of that look like at the end? Well, taken together, here is where we got. You can see here that this is now the cut out and kind of sanded down body shape. Already you can see aesthetically, you can absolutely see all the vertical lines. This is coming from all of those pieces of plywood stacked up vertically, smashed together, glued together, and then cut out from this template kit. But you also see the new things we're talking about. Here are the two custom pickup routes that I made aside from what I got in the kit. But I was very confident that all of this is going to work because the biggest benefit of using templates is that your scale length, the center lines, you can see kind of running down the middle of every single piece on this. They scored out and laser cut all of the center lines. Having that, having the neck pocket, you can see here it's all taped up and ready to be primer painted. All of those things being exactly where they need to be just takes so much pressure off the later stages when it comes to assembling the guitar and hoping that the feel and the angles are all right. I know that they're going to be because I was able to use templates to get myself started. But sure, we have our custom cavities cut out here, and on the back we even did some custom things. As I said before, I'm doing something different with the control cavities. So unlike a traditional JEM, you can see here there's actually kind of a semicircle of control pots because of the way that I'm going to wire these pickups later. So that's customized. You know, you can kind of cosmetically go where you want. And because I customized this, I also had to customize the back. Not to mention, you know, this is a pretty fancy guitar, or hopefully it will end up being for a very fancy player. So I did some little extra touches. I use magnets, actually we'll show you here, magnets that I embedded into the covers of these things so that they're actually not held on by screws. So if he needs to make changes later on, resolder something, or swap out pickups for something else, all of the covers, the control cavities, are magnets so that they're easily changeable. So little custom touches like that are still available to you if you want to design something highly unique, super special to your playing preferences. So I hope you got something out of this episode, and I hope you're excited to see all of the steps later and all the cool, crazy custom ideas we've got for this project going on. So as always, I want to thank you for watching, and until next time, play on, my friends, play on.